Hey, good day to you. This is Stan Prochowski with Prochowski Estate Law. You've heard me speak about how I can do Medicaid planning and save 100% of your assets from the nursing home, right? Well, it's very important to understand that this type of asset protection planning is absolutely legal and ethical. We don't hide assets. Hide is literally a four-letter, it's a dirty word. In our business, we legally protect or shelter assets. It's ethical, just like income tax planning. Normally on April 15th, you would have filed your income tax returns. And like every other American, when you file those returns, you would have tried to maximize your deductions and maximize your credits, right? Well, you'd have taken advantage of whatever legal deductions you're allowed to take, whatever legal credits you're allowed to claim. And you do that in order to get back the biggest income tax refund possible from the federal and state government. Okay, Medicaid asset protection planning is the same concept. Medicaid dollars come from your taxes. How is the government funded? Of course, it's funded from our tax dollars, meaning that we've worked all our life. Your spouse has worked, your parents have worked, your kids have worked. Everybody has paid money to the federal government and the state government to go towards Medicaid. In fact, the two largest line items in the federal budget and the state budget are Medicaid and education. So if you're smart enough to plan your estate to get back some of your tax dollars that you paid in to fund Medicaid over the years, well, that's no different from doing smart income tax planning. One of the differences is that Medicaid planning is just very poorly understood because there's not many attorneys in the entire country that understand it. As opposed to there being tons of accountants and CPAs and tax attorneys. You got your H&R Block, ARP, and TurboTax Online. There's lots of ways that people can get help maximizing their income tax refund. But not that many attorneys that help people with Medicaid asset protection. So yeah, much less talked about, much less understood. But the concept is the same. We're trying to get you back tax dollars that you paid into the system so that you're not taken advantage of by an unfair system. And when I talk about an unfair system, well, let's unpack that a little bit. We have in America here a completely discriminatory health insurance system. And part of what we do with Medicaid asset protection planning is we level the playing field to overcome that system. How is it discriminatory, you might ask? Well, let me give you an example, okay? Let's just take two people. Let's use my friend Paul and me, okay? We're next door neighbors. And let's say Paul has a cancerous brain tumor. And when Paul goes to the doctor tells him, he says, hey, we can try chemotherapy. If that doesn't work, then we can try radiation. If that doesn't work, then ultimately we can do surgery and remove the brain tumor. But for me, the next door neighbor, I have Alzheimer's disease, okay? I've got something wrong with my brain too. It's called plaques and tangles. So we don't call it a tumor. Science calls it plaques and tangles. And when I go to the doctor, I'm going to be told, hey, sorry, we don't have any medical procedure at this point to get rid of those plaques and tangles. Unlike Paul, who's got three different ways, right? The chemotherapy, the radiation, and the surgery. All of which is going to be paid for by his health insurance of Medicare. And if the cancer comes back for Paul or spreads to another part of his body, Medicare health insurance is going to pay for it all over again. All those treatments all over again for that cancer. Medicare will happily pay $1 million on Paul's behalf for Paul's care, if that's what it takes. Hey, but for poor old me with Alzheimer's, there's nothing that the medical system can do to get rid of those plaques and tangles. The care I'm going to eventually need because of the disease that I have is what our society calls long-term care. I will eventually need help with my activities of daily living, like bathing, dressing, going to the bathroom, feeding myself, remembering to do everything that needs to be done in my life. Okay, but if you look at these two diseases, they're very similar, right? They're both things that aren't supposed to be in the brain that are causing the illness. How come Paul, with the cancerous tumor, all the care he needs because of his disease is covered by health insurance or Medicare? But me, with the plaques and tangles causing Alzheimer's, none of that care I need is covered by Medicare. Our system says, sorry, Stan, you and your family have to pay out of pocket for the care you need in a nursing home. You've got to pay out of pocket until you go broke. And then you can qualify for Medicaid, and they will pay. And if there's anything left in your state, the Medicaid Recovery Act will exercise a priority claim and take whatever you have left. As ridiculous as this sounds, if you're like Paul and you're lucky enough to get the right disease, you'll not be cleaned out of all your property by the government. However, if you're like me and you're unlucky enough to get the wrong disease, Medicaid will take everything you own to recover their cost of care. Now, if that's not a discriminatory system, then you got to send me back to law school. Don't be taken advantage of by this unfair system. Call me, and I'll show you how to level the playing field and protect most, if not all, of your assets. Hey, what have you got to lose? Besides everything.